Welcome to the Mind of Business Success podcast. I'm your host, Alicia Cramer. Today we have with us Laura Rubin. Now, Laura, I love what you are doing with women. So let's face it, a lot of us, we're strong. We're accomplishing a lot as business owners, oftentimes as business owner / mom / wife / right. And there's a drive innate within all of us, but there's also an unhealthy way to look at life and accomplishment. And sometimes we haven't really fully and completely identified what it is that our heart is calling us to do, to be that better version of ourselves as the business owner and the mom and the wife. And so I want to welcome you to the show. And I really want for you to share with our listeners, what is it that you're doing?
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to talking about getting off the hustle train. That is my biggest message, is to help women understand that there is more to life than living on the hamster wheel or living on autopilot, that by discovering and exploring and discovering who we are, then we can create a life on our terms and living life on our terms. And it's just so important, because I think so many of us go through life with the shoulds and the have tos, and we're chasing after that brass ring based on what society has told us is success or what's been modeled for us. When at the end of the day, we reach that point, maybe we get all those goals and we're moving forward, and yet we're still not fulfilled. And it's because everything's external. We're just constantly striving, driving, driven, as you use that word, to the point of almost soul sucking.
It gave me a little bit of the tingles. Now, I've been working as a business mindset coach for over a decade. And in one of my books, I actually lead with a really deep introspective exercise that it addresses this so common phenomenon. And it's not just women, it's men too, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, we are indoctrinated into a whole set of beliefs and expectations about what it takes to be successful, what that looks like, what you need to have, the material things, the accomplishments. And in many cases, those things don't fulfill us. They're so superficial.
And it's not enough. You gain that, and then it's like, okay, I have that, but I don't feel successful. So you keep doing. Mm-hmm. You know, the solution that we have to the overdoing, if we don't feel something's right or working out, is just to work harder and to do more and to throw more stuff at it, as if we're trying to, the age old throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks kind of mentality, when in actuality, all that does is bury us deeper on the hamster wheel.
Yeah. And so much of it is just this false sense of wanting approval. Yes. Or this conditioning that if we don't live up to certain expectations, that somehow we're wrong or bad, doing a disservice to our family or society or whatever kind of crazy, stuff got programmed into us. And it's not until we actually look at it and see how irrational some of those beliefs actually are.
Agreed. And also, we're told the only way to success is to work hard. And so if we're not successful, or in our eyes, if we're not successful, then we start beating ourselves up. We're not working hard enough. We're not doing enough. We aren't doing the right things, that kind of thing, because it's always work hard. I also think it's interesting that the phrase is work hard, play hard. Why can't we just work and play? Why does it have to be difficult or hard? It's interesting how that working hard, playing hard, that's the badge of honor. But why? Why does it have to be that way?
What I've come to understand is that when something feels hard, it is because we have internal resistance. We have conflicting beliefs. Because if you really think about it, the things that are easy for you, it doesn't matter what it is. If it is a sport or it is, I mean, you could be an incredible novelist or an incredible painter. It doesn't even matter what the thing is. You look at anything in your life that maybe is hard for somebody else, but it's easy for you. It's because you don't have the internal resistance. You don't have a conflicting story in your own subconscious mind. So
Right.
the harder we work, all we're doing is we're just pushing against all of that internal resistance, which is exhausting. Whereas if we would just start to get rid of all of that stuff, we could be more in alignment with our work. We could be more in alignment with playing.
Yes.
And life would be a whole lot better.
I agree. Also think about when things are easy for us, there's no way that could be something we could do to make a living. That's no way that we could be successful because it's too easy. It doesn't work that way. So we discount the things that are easy for us as well, in terms of looking at it as maybe something that we could do to have a fulfilling life. It's too easy. We can't do that. No, it has to be hard.
Crazy, crazy, crazy common. So common, especially with newer business owners.
Yes.
Oftentimes when somebody's been in business for a while, they've been able to get over that if it even was an issue for them. But what I've seen is for a lot of business owners who are still in their initial first couple of years, there's this very, very common belief, and it's programmed into us from society that we're just supposed to give our gifts away for free.
Oh, yes.
And I like to always dispel that myth by using some different analogies. So if we look at a mechanic, now some people naturally love cars and some people don't. Some people get in there and they just get it. It's easy for them. It's natural. They can do it quick and they enjoy themselves. And so the quality of their work is that much better than the mechanic who's working alongside of him that's just doing it for the paycheck. And maybe their passion is to be an artist or a motivational speaker, or they could open a restaurant, who knows, right? But they're feeling called to do something else. But because of that messed up belief, the person who now could be fulfilling a purpose and could be doing something that is their passion has cut off and constricted their value in the world to barely get by. Now, I always say, who would you rather have work on your car? The person who's going to take twice as long and may actually make some mistakes because it's not really what they're passionate about,
Right.
Or the person who can get it done in a fraction of the time and is going to do an incredible job because it's their passion, it's their purpose.
Yeah.
And now when you look at what you're feeling called to do, you've got to ask yourself, am I really being a valuable contribution to anyone by undercharging or by working at Starbucks or, whatever it is.
Right.
If we all would just drop some of these crazy irrational beliefs and everybody was doing the thing that they're being called to do, imagine how much better our world would be. And It's not even that everybody has to be an entrepreneur. Some people are not aligned with being an entrepreneur. Some people love working at Starbucks.
Yep.
Yeah,
they love the people. They love the interaction. And you're right. That's where each person has to discover what is success for them. They get to redefine it. It's not about the paycheck. It's not about the title. It's not about the corner office. What makes them tick and what makes them light up. And the thing about that I always am clear is that it's the energy behind the hustle. Like I say, get off the hustle train, because, and working hard. It does take work to run a business. It does take work when you go to work. There are to-dos. You have to work, but it's the energy behind it. Are you doing it because you absolutely love it and time just flies? Or are you doing it for the paycheck? Or are you doing it because of the shoulds and the have tos? What is the energy behind the work? Because people will say to me, well, I just can't sit on the couch and, make a paycheck. Well, that's not the idea. The idea is, what is the energy behind the work that you're doing? And, does it really feel like work or not? As you're saying, are you forcing the round peg into the square hole? Or are you putting yourself as the round peg into the round hole because you've discovered what it is that makes you tick and you really want to share your gift with the world?
Yeah. You brought up an interesting point, and it's kind of funny because I was having a really brief conversation with my son this morning before he went off to school, and he's 12, just so everybody can kind of get an idea in their mind of how this conversation flows. But I reminded him of, there was a phase that he went through, and he's really, really talented at like coding and things like that. And he naturally has been, he just gravitated to it. He never took any courses, just picked it up, self-learned, self-taught. And there was a period of time where he was making these video game mods, and he was so passionate about it. And people would actually say, hey, can you make a mod for that? And he would spend like hours just immersed in it. And I wanted him to realize that when you're passionate about something, you do put a lot of effort and energy and time into it, but it feels good.
Right.
And so there's so many times there's this misconception that, it's like, am I working too hard? It's about how it feels. Like you said, It's about the energy. And I know anyone can relate to this because there've all been things that we just sort of get sucked into, and you can be so incredibly productive. You could do like, I've had it where like I've sat down and like an entire book just kind of like came out, and I'm sitting at the computer, and my husband is saying, it's really late, but it's just coming out. And you may even get to a point where you do feel physically fatigued, and then it is time to, stop and take a break. But what we're talking about here is really getting in touch with, what is your thing? What does make you feel alive? So it's not just hustle for the sake of hustle. It's not just grind for the sake of grind, or to achieve a certain status or level of success, or, whatever that may be. Like, get in your zone, and then everything else just kind of starts to fall into place.
Exactly. And all those things that you talked about are all external accolades, are all external markers of success. I truly believe success is an inside job. I believe that purpose is actually an inside job. We always talk about there's so many people, find your purpose. What's my purpose? And they're out there just struggling, really trying to figure out what their purpose. I really believe that your purpose is to live your life according to what is important to you and who you are. And once you're living in alignment, this internal alignment, then the outward expression of that purpose is your passion. And that's what flows from you. And it just becomes easy. So instead of looking for, is my purpose to be an artist? Is my purpose to be a teacher? Is my purpose to be a coach? Your purpose is really to live in alignment with who you are, what your core values are, what your strengths are, what lights you up. And then your passion is just an outward expression. Then it just naturally comes from the inside out, and you live within your passion.
I love that. And I totally agree.
I think it takes the pressure off. It really does.
Well,
And the reason I say that is because for years, I went through that same thing, just kind of jumping from thing to thing. Is this my purpose? Is this my purpose? Is this my purpose? Until I realized really my purpose was just to live in alignment with what lit me up and who I am and how I wanted to live my life and the future vision I had.
Yeah. If you think about the mindset that you're in when you are trying to find your purpose, you can feel that it's off. There's something about it that doesn't feel right. There's a disconnect. You're looking for something outside of you to give you what is inside of you, and it doesn't work that way.
Exactly.
But sometimes it's just a little bit of a shift in perspective that can make all the difference in the world. And I love what you're saying about, just that feeling in alignment with yourself. I use that word all the time. It's so important for us to start to create an internal reality that becomes the external expression. And what I see with a lot of my clients who are at all different levels of success is this constant striving to achieve these certain goals because they do feel somewhat called to that, but they're looking at it the wrong way.
Yeah.
So when you're looking for the goal, the end result to give you the feeling, when you achieve the goal, you still don't have the feeling because it's not the thing that gives you the feeling.
Right.
And so you have to create the feeling that you want. Who do you want to be? And what does it feel like when you're being the person you want to be and you're creating what you want to create? Because then when you accomplish the goal, now you have a completely different frame of reference. You have a completely different mindset, and you actually then are enjoying what you've created.
And it's a journey. You're enjoying the journey, and it's not just striving for that goal. And like you said, when you're in that mindset, you reach that goal, it doesn't fulfill you. So what do? You just heap on more going, more doing. It's that next thing, because with that being the focus, you're never going to be satisfied. It just is not going to happen. You think you will, but and maybe you are for a short period. But ultimately, if it's not coming from the inside out, you're going to be looking for that next carrot, that next brass ring that you're striving for, and you're constantly striving.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyone listening to this who has achieved any level of success and is still doing this to themselves is totally going to get it. Because it doesn't matter how much you accomplish. I sometimes will joke, I've got plenty of, nice hangy things on the wall, and those mean absolutely nothing.
No,
and when we're talking about what people really, really, really want, they think that the money or the goal or the car or the success or the accolades or whatever it is, they think that it's going to make them happy.
You bet.
And when you kind of reverse engineer it, it's like, well, wait a second. So what do I actually want? Do I want those things, or do I just want to be happy? And it's not that you can't have those things. Those things are good and they can bring more joy and fulfillment, but only if you're doing it in the right order. Right. So, if you can first get enough clarity to say, okay, and I've had to challenge myself, and I challenge my clients too, right? Because we do have to look at what it is that we want, look at our goals, look at our objectives, and be really, really, really honest with ourselves. Why do I want that?
Yep.
Because that's where you're going to identify the ego wants the approval. The ego wants the status. The ego wants the money or the car or whatever it might be. Now, that doesn't mean that your inner being doesn't also want the money in the car, but what angle are you coming at it from? Right. Are you coming from that? Because when you when you get out of that and you say, wait a second, I'm only going to pursue the things that really truly feel right for me, that make me feel aligned and congruent with myself, those things become so much more fulfilling. And you're not going to burn out, right? You're not going to be on the hamster wheel, because you'll be able to, keep coming back to what's your inner compass.
Right. And the work that you're doing, or the actions that you're taking when they're in alignment, become easy. And you're not, and again, it's all the mindset and the reason for. If you're going after the salary because it looks good, instead of, maybe you're going after the salary because it allows you to be more philanthropic. That's, you've got a bigger purpose. If you're going after the car because you think that's going to make you feel better and impress others, versus you really like the car and your family would enjoy a nicer car it's just the mindset and the reason, the why behind it. What is the why behind it?
Yeah. And that internal shift, even though somebody might be saying, isn't it the same thing? You want the car either way. You want the money either way. No, there's actually a huge difference. Huge difference.
Yeah, I would agree.
Now, the way that you feel, you've got to remember, that's ultimately why you want what you want. So you can get the car and you can still feel a void, the same void that was the reason that was driving you towards getting the car. Or you can be in your alignment and wanting the car because you know that you love that car and it brings you a lot of joy. And then when you have the car, it's a completely different feeling.
It's an extension of who, or your why. It's extension of it, because it's almost like it's a tool to do the things that you want. You're bigger and better. You're bigger. It's not the end all be all. I think that's the difference. Also, people look at those external markers, and that's the end all be all. That's when I'm going to be successful. When all that is just, it's just a thing. That is really all it is. And and if you're not happy on the inside, if you're not living in a state of joy, you can have so many things and it doesn't matter. You're just not in alignment.
Yes. I say, do the inner work so you can enjoy all the things.
That's right. Because there's nothing wrong with the things. That's the other thing. I'm real clear with my clients. I'm not asking you to sell all your possessions and walk into the desert in Arizona and live in a tent. That's not the idea. It's just to have the right mindset so that you're not beating yourself up and you're not working 24/7 and not enjoying the other pieces of your life. There is so much. We live so often from our shoulders up that we forget we're a whole being, and we don't enjoy our other senses, and we don't realize there is more to life than sitting behind the desk and sitting behind the computer. We can be fulfilled so much more if we get out from behind that desk.
So you help your clients to unravel all of this ridiculous stuff that we tend to do to ourselves, so that they can find that inner passion, that inner alignment, and live a life that is so much more fulfilling, so much less exhausting. But now let's talk a little bit about you.
Sure.
So as a business owner, I'm sure you've had to unravel some of your own stuff.
Definitely. And that's the reason for going on the journey. I went on the journey myself, realized I wasn't alone, and got super excited about the change and realizing it could be different. And thus decided I need to share this. I need to raise other women up and help them to realize that there is another way to define success. There is another way. You don't have to be running on the hamster wheel, living on autopilot. There's so much more to life. And, for me, that's exactly what I was doing. I was checking off all the boxes. I was doing all the things, and I reached midlife and had all the things, and I had checked off all the boxes. And it was like, this isn't feeling good. This doesn't feel like I thought it was going to feel like. And so I went on the journey. I lost my job and I looked at it as, well, I could go get another job doing what I was doing, which I was very good at, but it didn't light me up. It was just, I did it because I was good at it. So I could continue down that path, or I could really try to take some time and discover who I was, explore who I was, discover, connect all those dots and go, this is how I want to live my life. This is the lens through which I'm going to look at every decision I make, and what does it fall in alignment? It's the compass, like we talked about. So, and lots of times people ask, did you have like an aha moment? Did you have this big, huge moment? I really didn't. It was just a slow, steady process for me, and realizing that, okay, I don't have to do it this way. Here's a different way that I can do it, and experimenting. And I'm an overachiever. I'm a perfectionist. If you're familiar with the Enneagram, I'm an Enneagram 3. So it's just, I am a go, 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 do. So this has been a real learning curve for me and a real learning process. But I really feel like if I can do it, then, anyone can do it, because I was a dyed in the wool, go, 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 don't stop, just keep moving.
Well, I'm sure a lot of our listeners can relate to that. It is common for many of us in business to be extremely driven, very much go, go, go. And at some point, we do all have to just take a pause. Yep. Even if you're in your right business, sometimes you just have to take a pause and do some honest self-assessing. Why am I doing this? Am I doing it for the right reasons? What do I really want? Am I acting in alignment with what I really want? Yeah. And a lot of times we do need help. We do need guidance. We do need someone who's been there, done that. I love that you share that you are your own best client, because that's the same way that's what got me into what I do also. I was my own best client. I had to do a shit ton of inner work. Yeah. And it made me pretty darn good at it. Mm-hmm. And obviously then the more we work with others, the more proficient we become at conveying that knowledge and imparting that wisdom and helping to create those shifts for our clients, in many cases more quickly than on our own journey. As we develop our own levels of mastery from doing our thing that we are called to do.
So true. So true. I would agree with you 100%. The other piece also is I continue to learn, and I'm sure you continue to learn. As we talked about, it's a journey. I don't feel like I will ever arrive, because I always think that there's something more to learn. There's always something more to go down the path and learn more about and improve and change and revise and refresh. And so as I continue to learn, I get to share that with my clients as well. So, and I agree with you 100%. I always say doing it with someone else is the way to go. Whether it's a coach, a friend, a colleague, a business mastermind, however you choose to do it, it is so much better to do it with someone else, accountability. And as you mentioned, also someone that's been through it, or maybe a little bit ahead of you on the journey, so that, they can kind of help guide you along. It's definitely necessary.
Yeah. I mean, you think about how many people receive advice from unqualified sources.
Oh, yes.
Right.
And they're searching, they're grasping, they don't know. They're willing to try anything. And to be honest with you, I did some of that in the beginning as well, until I felt like I was on the right path. But and it's not a bad thing. but it just delays the journey just a little bit.
Yeah. It's an interesting point that you make. And whenever we are starting out on our journey, there's going to be a little bit of that. And it is about the alignment thing. So when we're really misguided within ourselves, it's not really so clear to us that we need to find the expert. We're just looking for a little bit of relief.
Right.
But as you take a few steps down that path, now you're able to refine and clarify what it is that you really, really want. So when you've dabbled a little bit here and you've dabbled a little bit there, and that's why you'll find that a lot of people who have achieved a fair amount of success for themselves, they want the best. They want to go to the expert because they know that it can be very time consuming to do it any other way.
Correct. I also believe that action breeds clarity. So I think you have to do those things. And in doing those, going this way, trying this and trying the next thing, like you said, then you determine what works for you. So you've taken the action steps, you know what doesn't work, you know what does work, and you can continue on the path that does work. But you have to take the action. I think we can all sit behind the computer or all sit behind books or read a bunch of things and think that we're on that path. But until we take those steps and actually take action and start making those changes and doing those things based on what we've read or who we're following, that's when we truly can discover what works and doesn't work for us.
Absolutely. This has been a wonderful conversation. Laura, can you share with our listeners how they can get in contact with you?
You bet. You basically can find me on the internet, LinkedIn, Instagram, all under Life with Laura Marie. So that is my handle, and I'm on all of those. I'm also on Facebook, and that is Laura M. Rubin 01. You can find me there as well.
Wonderful. Now, as we're wrapping up this episode, I want to give you an opportunity to share any final parting thoughts.
I think I just want to encourage your listeners that if any of this resonated with you, to take that first step, whatever that step is. Awareness is the first thing. Start looking at your patterns. Start looking at your calendar. Are you giving yourself some breaks in that calendar? Just start becoming aware of the world around you and how are you living in it, and start thinking about what's important to you. And start writing down what are the things that make you tick so that you can start living life on your terms.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Laura.
You are so welcome. It was wonderful.
And of course, I've got to thank all of our listeners. I sincerely hope you took away some gems from this conversation. I think there were quite a few of them. And no matter what level any of us are at, there is always room for refinement and improvement and growth. So anytime you start to think that you're above it, you're doing yourself a huge disservice, because growth can be exponential. So with that, thank you, everyone, and we'll see you in the next episode.